Kull the Conqueror, both the character and the film, have an unusual relationship with Robert E. Howard's most famous creation, Conan the Barbarian. Legend has it that Howard submitted a story, By This Axe I Rule, featuring Kull of Atlantis, for publication. And for whatever reason, the editors in charge of saying yay or nay to these stories did not accept this story. So Howard took the story and changed the lead's name to Conan, and changed a few other details of the story, and submitted again. This time as The Phoenix and Sword, the first story featuring Conan. And this story was accepted, and was what led to the rest of Howard's stories with Conan, as well as the growth of an entire world as seen in the comic books and films, helmed by others who were inspired by Howard's fantasy character and world. I think it's safe to say that I would not have done a Sword and Sorcery 3-part review series on my channel if it was not for Conan. So how does this relate to the 1997 film starring Kevin Sorbo? Once again, I defer to legends I've heard across the internet. Apparently, the film was being planned as a third Conan film a decade earlier, but Arnold Schwarzenegger was busy filming Predator and Red Sonja, so he declined to be in the film. I don't know why everyone behind this film didn't then seek out another competent actor who could play the lead. Perhaps they felt that the public at large would not accept another actor as Conan after Arnold had played the role twice already. Who knows? Even if fear of replacing Arnold was the reason that work on the third Conan movie never began, sometime in the mid-1990s, someone wanted this film to happen. Whatever the reason, Kevin Sorbo was chosen to play Conan. However, he didn't want to play a part that someone else had already played, so the title character's name was changed to Kull, which is ironic considering that Kull was the prototype of Conan in the first place. This is all legend that I've heard elsewhere, though looking at the Kull film and the two previous Conan movies, it seems like this movie was intended to be a cap-off to the previous two films. Not to give too much away, but Conan is hinted to one day become a king in both of the Conan films, though we are told that his journey is another story altogether. If this film had been a third Conan movie, I feel like finally seeing Conan's rise to the throne would have been a nice callback to the minor plot points in the two previous films. As it is, it just happens to this new guy in the first 3 minutes of his own film, and it has no weight like I imagine it would have if this had been Arnold's Conan taking the throne he was destined to take. Despite what I feel like is a fairly interesting backstory to this movie, I'm really not sure if there is much I can say about the movie itself. The movie is essentially bland. It's not overtly bad, but there is nothing good about it either. If you've ever had ice cream that has no flavor at all and is just kind of there, that is essentially how I feel about this movie. I'm hardly surprised that, even in the geekier circles that I frequent, that this movie is barely remembered, and when it is, it's as a knockoff of the Conan films of the previous decade, and rightly so. First and foremost, I will quickly talk about the characters. When I go into any story, be it a novel, a comic book, or a film, I want characters who have clear motivations that make sense to us. They don't have to be likable characters, as sometimes the point of a story is that an unlikable character becomes likable to us over the course of the story. But there needs to be some kind of motive that drives this character to carry out actions that affect the plot of the story. And there should also be another character with motivations that are antithetical to the previous character. This is known as the antagonist. The antagonist also needs to have goals and motivations that we can understand, although we almost certainly will not want this character to succeed if the filmmakers are doing their job right. This movie doesn't really have any of that. I suppose our protagonist is Kull. He literally accidentally becomes king of Volusia about 3 or 4 minutes into the movie. It makes no sense at all. Kull is fighting with the king, who has already killed his heirs, and then when Kull deals a fatal blow, everyone in the room begins arguing over who should be the next king. And the king who is just trying to kill Kull now decides that Kull will be the next king. This is an excellent example of the plot happening in a certain way because the plot needs to happen that way. This is not how movies should be. The plot needs to take place organically out of the decisions that characters make, which should make sense. If the king is crazy and was trying to kill Kull, unless he has some secret knowledge of the perils he will face as the next king and wants to have his vengeance on Kull, then there is no reason that he should give the crown to him. It's sloppy writing. After the crown is handed to Kull without him doing anything but fighting a little bit, Kull seems to be less of a barbarian than he is made out to be. He will not force the slave women to have sex with him, he allows the citizens to worship whichever gods they choose, and he attempts to free all the slaves of the city. He seems like a pretty great guy. But this is less than 10 minutes into the movie. What is Kull's arc as a protagonist? His arc should be defined by some lesson that he learns as he goes through the plot. But Kull doesn't learn anything. By the end of the movie, he frees all of the slaves like he wanted to do at the beginning of the movie, and he is acting exactly the same as he was 10 minutes into the film. This is a problem. We really don't need a static character as a protagonist because it's boring. And worse yet, I feel like this movie is aware that it is boring. It tries to cover up just how very little substance is here by giving us very, very long fight scenes that are decently played out, except that every time a fight breaks out, I lose interest. I'm not sure if it's because the fights are too long, and believe me, they are, or if it's because this character has no depth at all, and I don't care about him, so I also don't care about the things that he is doing throughout this movie. The two supporting characters, a slave woman and her brother, a high priest of some evil goddess woman, they're even less interesting than Kull himself. I feel like in all of the barbarian stories, there are several stock roles that a writer will go to and use those roles and pretend that they are fully formed characters. The scribe, the pirate captain, the escaped slave, the captain of the king's guard, the master thief, the priest, the nobleman's daughter. There are so many different ways that you can dress up the fact that these characters are not especially interesting. When the priest dies, I have no emotional reaction. Not even a, hey, glad that boring guy is dead. No, it's just a thing that happens. Like the filmmakers feel like it should communicate to us that the stakes are high because this guy dies, but I'm just sitting here eating bland, flavorless ice cream. The antagonists of the film are nearly as bad as Kull and his buddies. At least two of them are actively trying to take the throne because they feel like it is their birthright. They are at least proactive, unlike Kull, who does action-y things, but I don't feel like he's earned anything that he gets in this movie. These guys come up with a plan which brings an old demon witch woman back to life. And she wants to take the throne and restore Acheron, the former city that is now Valusia, that she was queen of thousands of years ago. We are told that this was when demons ruled the world, and the world was shrouded in darkness. I want to care, I really do, but this woman doesn't ever actually do anything to move forward with her evil schemes. She has the rest of the city believe that Kull is dead, but she doesn't kill him. She had the chance, mind you, but she doesn't. She hints that it's because he was really good in bed. But really? Why doesn't she just kill him? This is yet another example of the plot happening in a certain way because the plot needs to happen in a certain way. After Kull has escaped the city, because the evil witch woman didn't kill him, she then tells her soldiers to go kill him. This is more nonsense happening just in an effort to make us think that stuff is actually happening here that matters. While her soldiers are off tracking down Kull, why doesn't she just go ahead with her evil plan to have demons ruling the planet and restore her city to its former glory? Kull is off finding a mystic breath of some dead god, which will extinguish the flame of Acheron, and apparently it will also destroy Kull's evil demon bride. This is in some Arctic location, and I can't believe that it takes Kull less than 2 or 3 weeks to find the cold breath and then come back to Valusia. During all of that time, could our evil queen have done anything actually evil? I'm assuming she could have, but then the plot would actually take a turn that the writers don't want it to do. So instead she does nothing during the time that Kull is off finding the mystic breath that's going to kill her. I've spent much more time on this film than I actually should, and there's much more about it that I could complain about. But every complaint that I have is rooted in the same problem. The characters aren't dynamic enough, or their decisions they make do not work with the motivations we are given. This is what is most important about a film. Not cool action scenes or getting lightheaded because hot men or women are taking their clothes off. The only way I can recommend this film to anybody is if they think that intelligent characters who make sense do not matter. If you are the kind of person who just listened to this review and you think that I'm talking nonsense, then maybe you should watch this movie. You might even enjoy it. Maybe.